What's up, everyone? My name is Mistic. Welcome to Mistic Rex. Today, my video I, trust me, bro, survival myths that would actually get you killed. Oh, I don't really know many survival things, so instead of the myth getting me killed, maybe just my lack of knowledge will kill me, or my fear of bugs. I would not survive in a survival scenario. Let's get into it.
Survival myths that would actually get you killed.
Okay.
You and your best bro are sitting on the couch watching TV, bored out of your mind.
Yeah.
You're flipping through the channels when you see somebody you recognize. It's the British guy who goes outside and drinks his own pee for fun. After
Ew.
watching him squeeze elephant poop into his mouth to drink water, you decide to go outside and test your survival capabilities.
I'm good.
And also test how real common survival knowledge really is in practice. Because let's be real, whether you're an outdoorsy person or not,
I'm not.
we've all heard survival tips at some point in our life. Are these tips that we've always just accepted as truth actually life-saving, or could they potentially get you killed?
Okay.
And with you and your friends being inspired, you both pack your bags and head out the door for the adventure of a lifetime, not knowing whether or not this would be your last adventure. You were just dropped in an extremely remote location by a helicopter. And as you watch the
Are there
helicopter
bugs?
fly off, you and your friend are now completely
take me.
alone. Left to your own devices, and your sole goal is to survive and make it home using only the knowledge that you've heard in passing. Before you and your friend can even take your first steps, you need to first understand what direction should you go. And before you can even think, your friend says, "Why don't we go north?" And while you agree, you have a question. How do we know which way is north? But luckily,
How do we know home
everybody
is
knows if
north?
you want to know which direction is north, all you have to do is find a tree with moss on it, because moss will only grow on the north side of the tree. So you and your friend begin walking until you notice a tree that has moss growing on the bottom of it. And as you approach the tree, that you can see that the moss is in your direction, meaning that if you just do a 180 and start turning around, you'll be going north. Although, just to be sure, you take a quick look around the tree and realize that there isn't only moss on the north side, there's moss on the north, south, east, and west side. This tree trunk is completely
I've heard that before, but it never made sense to me. Because I've seen like a area covered in moss, and it sure wasn't in a specific direction. So this wouldn't kill me, at least, but how do we know we need to go north? Maybe we
covered
need
in
to go
moss.
south.
And it's not the only one. All of these tree trunks have moss all over them, meaning that you have no idea which way is north. And also debunking this myth that moss is somehow a compass. But this myth isn't just straight out of a fairy tale. There is some basis of reality here, although it's just not fully accurate or reliable at all. According to Michigan State University, it is more likely for moss to grow more prominently on the north side of trees and rocks, although moss can grow basically anywhere, meaning that if you are using moss to navigate, you are setting yourself up for failure, and in a survival situation, setting yourself up for your own possible demise. And while I like organic stuff as much as the next person, I'm gonna stick to my GPS, or at least my compass, when it comes to navigation. Feeling slightly foolish and a bit betrayed, you and your friend decide to confirm which direction is north with your compass and begin moving. So far,
If
this
you
walk
had a
is pleasant,
compass,
and the forest that
use
you guys
it.
are in is beautiful and lush. And the
Ooh.
steps begin to fly by, and you and your friend are almost lost in conversation when your friend realizes something utterly terrifying. Because the vegetation on the ground is so lush, it's almost impossible to see what's lurking around your feet. And while your friend wasn't looking down, a venomous snake was able to slither onto his boot, up his pant leg, and wrap around your friend's thigh. But the snake didn't just end there. This snake, straight out of Diddy University, decided to bite your friend directly on the crotch. And by the time you even noticed the snake wrapped around your friend's leg, it was too late, and your friend was screaming in agony. Fortunately, you were able to quickly grab the snake and throw it off into the wilderness. But
Ow.
now you are left with a massive problem. Your friend has just been bitten by a venomous snake. But
Yikes.
fortunately, he has a survival tip. It's common knowledge that when somebody receives a venomous snake bite, the best thing to do is immediately suck out the venom, right? It's only logical. The entry wound is still fresh. If you can pull the toxins directly out of the wound, you're only dealing with a small cut and not any venom being directly injected into your bloodstream. It's perfectly logical. And although the placement may be a bit unfortunate, you'd be willing to help your friend out if it was life or death. But in
I don't
reality,
think
this
you
practice
can
wouldn't be helpful
suck it out.
at all. And here's how. Like I mentioned, it may seem initially
But it's a
logical
good
that you would want to
excuse,
remove the
remove
the
to-
venom by any means possible. And some people have even suggested suggested that you should cut the injection site of the fang to make it
Ugh.
bigger to be able to suck out
No.
more venom. But the
No.
reality is this: once a snake has bitten its victim, there is no way for you to suck out any meaningful amount of venom. And if you were to cut the bite location, you would only be making the wound bigger,
Yeah.
causing a higher chance of infection.
Mhm.
Speaking of infection, putting your bacteria-ridden mouth on your friend's
Yeah.
fresh wound is only going to increase the chances of introducing bacteria
sense,
directly
makes
into
sense.
your friend's fresh wound. And while it is possible to suck out a small amount of venom, it is not going to be a large enough amount to save your friend's
And
life.
then it could
However,
get to
it
you.
could be a large enough amount to cause yourself serious bodily
Yeah.
harm or potentially even death as well. So yeah, even though your friend was extremely keen on you removing the venom out of his wound the good old-fashioned way, you luckily both had access to Google just for this brief amount of time. And you were able to confirm that this practice was outdated and potentially deadly and fatal to both of you.
But
And
hey,
the best
it's
course
still
of
a good
action would be
reason
to
to-
limit your friend's mobility. This way, the venom would travel through your friend's body as slowly as possible, giving you the maximum amount of time to get antidote before things got fatal. However, due to plot armor, you had antidote on you and you were able to heal your friend without doing
Let's
any sort
go,
of
plot
mouth-to-wound
armor,
suction.
plot
After
armor.
you administer the antidote and you allow your friend to bandage himself up, you both
Ugh.
continue on your trek through the woods,
Okay.
feeling better and grateful to be alive, but also feeling more betrayed because so far everything you thought you knew was wrong. But before you and
And
your
you
friend
didn't-
could
you did
continue to
not suck
complain
mom.
about how crazy that entire ordeal was, you run into a much bigger problem.
Oh?
A 750-pound problem that's looking you right in the face. This problem is an adult,
Oh,
aggressive
yay.
black bear. Your first instinct is to run the opposite way, but before you could even turn, your friend whips his arm around and clenches your arm tightly, holding you in your place. You look your friend in the eye and he tells you, "Are you crazy, man? We can't run away. We have to act like we're already dead." And with your friend's iron grip being on your arm, you have no other option but to lay down beside him. And now the both of you are laying on the ground with a 750-pound black bear slowly approaching your position. You and your friend at this point may be feeling like you just saved your lives. You outsmarted the black bear, and in a few minutes you'll be back
I
well on your way.
forget
But in
how
reality,
that
you just made the black bear's life a lot easier and served
saying
him up
goes.
2 meals on a silver platter. I think most of us at some point have heard, if you see a bear, just play dead. But I think at this point,
Oh.
hopefully most people know that there is definitely some nuance to that. Specifically,
No, I heard like if it's white, do something. If it's brown, do something. If it's black, do something. But I forget which is which.
that advice does not apply to all bears.
Yes.
Black bears, for example, do not take well to people playing dead. And this is exactly why the bear is currently shaking your friend in his mouth like a dog that just got a new chew
So,
toy.
was
Black
I
bears are
correct?
notoriously aggressive. And if you encounter one, your best course of action is 1, slowly retreat if it doesn't notice you. But if it is fixated on you, your best next steps are to get as big and aggressive as possible. Obviously, you can't fight this bear, but you want to make this bear believe that it's not even worth fighting you. You want to extend your arms and legs outward, look big as possible, yell, sound aggressive, do anything to intimidate this bear, and if you're convincing enough, you may even scare the bear in this process. Grizzly bears, on the other hand, are a bit different. Experts say that grizzly bears respond better if you actually do lay down on the ground, although it's best if you protect your neck just in case and remain still until the bear checks you out and hopefully leaves you alone. And if you happen to end up in a situation where you're face to face with a polar bear,
You're
your
doomed.
best bet is to pray. Because polar bears are like black bears, but worse. They are the most aggressive and the most likely to tear your head off. So yeah, although the advice of playing dead around a bear isn't fully inaccurate, it once again definitely requires some additional context. The current popular saying is, if it's brown, lay down.
Yeah.
If it's black, fight back. And if it's white, good night. Not because you're supposed to play dead, but because you're going to be dead.
That's
As
what
you continue
I
to lay
knew.
motionless on the ground, you peek open one of your eyes to see what's going on. You notice that the black bear has dropped your friend and was distracted by something else, and luckily left you both alone. Your friend,
Yay.
while a little bit worse for wear, is still alive. And you help get him back on his feet, and you once
I
again
don't think we're gonna be
continue
friends
your
after
journey.
this.
Feeling a bit bad for your friend because at this point it looks like he survived 3 rounds with Mike Tyson, 4 days with Diddy, and 5 nights at Freddy's. You decide you would let him take a quick breather and go around gathering some food.
Yeah.
Your friend sits down on a rock under a tree, and you decide to go and see what you can find. And once you begin wandering around looking, you realize one crucial thing. You have no idea what's edible or not, and you don't even know what's around you. But that doesn't stop you
Honestly,
from
just
looking. And quickly you
don't
find yourself approaching
eat
some
anything.
interesting red mushrooms.
No.
Now, you know mushrooms can definitely be questionable, but the fact that you see a little snail
I don't like mushrooms. Well, I've never tried them, but I know the texture would be awful to me. So, mushrooms are already a no-go for me. I don't care if I'm starving. It is not going in my mouth.
Munching away at these gives you hope. And as you pick these
No.
mushrooms, you notice that there's actually small bite marks from chipmunks. This gives you all the confidence you need to pick a few
No.
mushrooms and put them in your pocket and to continue.
Just because something is safe for them doesn't mean it's safe for us. Because, like, we can eat chocolate, dogs can't. So, that logic doesn't apply to everything.
Continue scavenging. You continue looking around when you notice a small bush with inconspicuous red berries. You've never seen these berries before, but it doesn't mean that you can't eat them. And while you're cautious of these mysterious red berries, you notice a small bird fly down into this bush and carefully eat these berries before flying away. And once again, you rationalize with yourself, well, if this animal can eat this, obviously I can. If something was poisonous to them, they wouldn't eat it. So you go ahead and collect some of these berries.
But it might not be poisonous
you notice that you've been
to
scavenging
them,
for
or they're
hours. You
just
decide to
a
return to
dumb
your friend
bird.
and show him your loot.
And
Your
it
friend
will
doesn't
kill
seem
them.
too enthused by the small handful of random mushrooms and red berries, but something is better than nothing. And you and your friend begin to munch on the world's weirdest trail mix. Feeling energized from the food and also feeling energized mentally that you finally had some knowledge that was true, you and your friend both have a bit more of a pep in your step because you knew that you had at least some right information, right? That is until you realize your friend is looking in two directions. He is foaming at the mouth. In shock, you try to say something to him when all you can get out is a jumbled mess of slurred words, and you and your friend both pass out face down on the forest floor. The survival technique of eating what animals ate failed you both. And the reality is, animals are just better than you. And just because the animal can eat it doesn't mean you
wouldn't
can eat it
have
at all. Just think
died
about
to
it. Every
that,
animal has developed its
'cause I
own
wouldn't
unique way
eat
of
it in the first
digestion. And the
place.
things that our bodies are able to safely process and consume typically come from thousands and thousands of years of consumption. And on top of this, some animals are just built different. Like cows, for example, they have 4 stomachs. And every animal processes the same foods differently. The bird that ate those red berries, for example, was able to pass the toxic seeds from those berries directly through its digestive system without any issues. And those seeds that are now a part of its excrement are now replanted and continuing the life cycle of those berries. But in your case, those seeds have been cracked open by your teeth and are now infecting your entire body with deadly toxins. And the chipmunk that was taking bites out of that small red mushroom has a specialized stomach acid that can neutralize the toxins within this deadly mushroom. However, you simply do not have the facilities to handle that. And the same mushroom that gives that chipmunk life gave you and your friend a near-death experience. Just because you saw an animal eating something does not mean it's not deadly for you. After a few hours being passed out on the floor, you and your friends slowly come to and pick yourselves up off the ground. Nonetheless, you and your friend decide it's time to get serious because the sun is soon setting and you guys need to eat food. Really quickly, I just wanted to mention that this video is sponsored by Five. And right now, they have a special promo for you. If you love catching a buzz and enter the giveaway and don't win, you still get perks, including exclusive reward points and a free 1-month 5 high pass trial. To enter the giveaway, simply click my link in the description, enter your information, and begin earning entries. You must be over 21 to purchase or enter the giveaway, and the giveaway ends July 31st, 2025. Use my link in the description, enter the giveaway for free, and get 35% off all 5 products. Thank you, Five, for sponsoring this video. You and your friend notice something fuzzy in the distance, and as you slowly approach it and peek over some bushes, you see a lonely old caribou walk slowly until it collapses right before your eyes. And while this is an unfortunate sight for you and your friend, this could be life or death. And in this instance, having an endless supply of high-quality food in front of you is something you and your friend couldn't have even imagined. You both approach the caribou to ensure that it's no longer with you. And once you have that confirmation, you begin to prepare the animal. Fortunately, for once, you were able to put useful knowledge to good use. And shortly after preparing the animal, you and your friend are sitting at a campfire, under a tree, under the stars, eating your first meal in what feels like forever. But as good as having a hearty meal feels, and as confident as you feel knowing you have a nearly endless supply of food, the reality is that you're not set.
Yeah, that. First off, I feel like that would get bacteria pretty quick. But how do we know it didn't die of, like, a sickness?
For food at all. And while you might not realize it now, in the near future, eating this food alone could easily kill you. And the reason is simple but interesting. And it all comes down to biology. Your body simply can't digest protein without fat. And if your diet only consists of protein with no other micronutrient, your body could literally starve or develop protein poisoning. The term for this situation is called rabbit starvation, or the French-Canadian term caribou sickness. But they both refer to the protein poisoning I just mentioned. But the reality is if you are only eating direct, big game, lean protein, you're setting yourself up for failure. And it's because of this very real caribou sickness that beavers were extremely valuable to North American indigenous people, because beavers had such high amounts of fat, which is why beaver hunting and trapping was so important, not just for pelts, but also for fat, so that this fat could be consumed, allowing your body to properly digest the protein from the big game you also caught. Black bears are also a great source of animal fats, although it's much easier to trap a beaver than a black bear for reasons we discussed earlier. But yeah, if you tried to live solely off of a big game carcass, you would soon find yourself suffering from a strange form of starvation, simply because your body needs protein, but it also needs other macronutrients to properly absorb and process this protein. Luckily for you and your friend, you're both blissfully ignorant to this fact, and you wouldn't be eating off this carcass for long enough to experience these symptoms. And after both of you have successfully filled your bellies, you decide that it's time to get some rest. You suggest to your friend that maybe you guys should build a quick shelter, just something to keep you guys safe. But your friend tells you that that's a waste of time and energy, and that you guys need to conserve your calories as much as possible right now. And you both simply lay down on the ground and close your eyes.
Oh, I thought they were going to get naked because, body heat, blah, 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 blah.
To sleep. But that sleep isn't peaceful at all. And only a few hours into your sleep, you wake up freezing cold, colder than the air temperature outside, and you're kind of at a loss. And the reason is rather simple. Laying directly on cold ground is a great way to rapidly reduce your body heat, literally because the ground is stealing heat from
and, ignore all the bugs, animals, wind. Ignore all of that. You still need to stay warm.
your body and lowering your core body temperature, causing you to burn more calories to try to heat yourself back up, while also absorbing all of the extra heat that your body is generating. So in a cold environment like the one that you're in at night, you could not only lose body heat, but also experience hypothermia just by laying on the bare ground, which is why you'll see outdoorsy people swear by a ground mat. Consider it insulation to keep your body heat within you and not being stolen by the ground beneath you. And now that you understand that collecting debris to lay on is a worthy investment of calories, you quickly put together a bundle of grass and leaves to make something soft, but also to make something to insulate your body. And you make a makeshift mattress that's large enough for both you and your friend. And you roll your friend onto it, you lay beside him, conserving body heat, and you close your eyes and experience your first bit of rest. The following morning, you decide it's time to start your day and continue your adventure. You begin to inform your friend about last night's discovery and how sleeping on the ground is not okay. But before you can even finish making your point, your friend stops you and points ahead. Because what stands in your way is something you haven't noticed until now. A massive snow-capped mountain. And there's no way around it. You and your friend now need to begin hiking. Luckily, you and your friend are energized from a good night's sleep and at least some sort of food that doesn't almost kill you. And as you and your friend begin to climb through this mountain, the temperatures begin to get lower and lower. And it's at this point when you're able to make the point to your friend that body temperature is something you guys need to keep in mind in these survival situations. But as your friend brushes off your concern about body temperature, he tells you the only thing you guys should be concerned about right now is water. You begin to get nervous because now that you're halfway up this mountain and surrounded by snow, there's no water around you. But your friend laughs at you and reminds you that this snow is water. He grabs it.
That probably has piss in it. And also, it's not, what is the word? Sterile? It's not clean, right?
A handful of snow off the ground, which appears to be untouched, and begins to chow down on his solid water. And while to most this seems completely safe and logical, this is definitely not the most ideal way to consume water. The first risk that this poses is that this snow or ice could actually cause micro tears or cuts in your mouth, which could definitely cause problems down the line. But more importantly than that, consuming ice directly is a surefire way to lower your core body temperature, causing your body to work overtime to heat itself back up. Your friend may think that body temperature isn't an important ordeal, but you know that it's nothing to laugh at. And at this very moment, hypothermia is a much bigger risk to you than being dehydrated. But unfortunately, your friend is in a bit of a pickle. Because yeah, he was able to hydrate himself through all of the snow he just ate, but he's now shivering uncontrollably, and he's hungrier than he was yesterday because his core body temperature has been lowered and his body is consuming as much calories as it can to heat itself back up. Now, you're thirsty as well, but you're not willing to go through that entire experience. And what you do is a lot more wise. You remember watching the Outdoor Boys YouTube channel, and luckily, you had the same supplies that he did. You You scoop up snow into some sort of metal tin, you put it over top of a propane heater, and you allow the snow to melt.
Okay,
And
that's
then you
fair.
consume the pre-melted, ideally room temperature
And
water,
it's
allowing your
probably
body to not have
cleaner.
to reheat it once it's consumed. Your body can simply use it as is. And the benefit of using this method as well too, assuming you have access to some sort of heat source, is you can actually kill any bad bacteria. But assuming that's not a risk here, you're able to at least avoid the whole hypothermia your friend is now
it's
fighting.
definitely
After
a
this whole
risk.
water debacle, you realize that your friend's only chance of regaining any sort of heat is by continuing to move. So you keep on your path going over the snow-capped mountain. Unfortunately, your friend is no longer shivering, but you and your friend are now facing a much different issue. You and your friend are now both sweating, which is good. Body heat at this point is not a concern at all. This shouldn't be an issue. And sure, you might smell a little bit
Paradoxical
later, but what is an
undressing?
issue is the base layer of what you and your friend are wearing. Before you even left, you and your friends were debating on whether or not you should wear your clothes in a certain order. And your friend, obviously being a bit more reckless, said it didn't matter at all. So he started by putting on a cotton undershirt, a cotton hoodie, and then put a jacket over top that was waterproof to help keep water out. You, on the other hand, wanting to be different, decided to wear a base layer that was more moisture wicking, but still followed that up with another hoodie and a waterproof jacket. Now here's the difference. While you and your friend are still sweating now, as soon as you guys stop and your body heat begins to go down, the sweat trapped in your clothes is going to be deadly. And if your
Okay.
base layer is made of cotton, that sweat isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And after hours of hiking, you and your friend decide to take a break, and you guys experience the effects of this firsthand. After only sitting for around 15 minutes, your friend is not only cold once again, but he is shivering worse than he was before. And like I mentioned, that's because now his cotton shirt is drenched with sweat. And when cotton gets wet, it loses its ability to insulate you, meaning that your friend has effectively put a cold conductor directly on his body, and also effectively removed a layer, making him at risk once again for hypothermia. Luckily for you, you unintentionally decided to dress and act appropriately. You didn't wear a cotton base layer, meaning that by the time you already sat down and relaxed, your shirt was slightly wet in your armpits, but the rest of your shirt was able to dry relatively quickly. And also, as you were hiking up the mountain, you decided to remove layers, allowing yourself to not get too hot or sweaty. And that is the reason why you're not experiencing hypothermia right now. Because as you can tell, getting
But
sweaty...
isn't that paradoxical undressing? Huh? I'm confused.
in a cold survival situation could be life or death. And a good rule of thumb is, if it's cold enough to wear multiple layers, it's too cold to wear a cotton-based layer or cotton at all. And while it may seem counterintuitive to remove layers when you're in a cold environment, if you are exerting energy and on the verge of sweating, it is best to remove these layers to prevent sweating as much as you can. As thick as your friend's plot armor is, he is struggling at this point, and still somehow alive. He is dealing once again with hypothermia, and you guys have no access to fire or anything to warm him up. Your friend randomly asks you if you have any alcohol on you, and coincidentally, you did. You had a small bottle of some pretty strong alcohol in your backpack, and you wondered why he wanted it. But before you could even ask him what he wanted it for, he grabbed the bottle out of your hands and chugged it. After wiping his mouth, he tells you that obviously drinking alcohol warms you up. It makes you feel warmer and increases your body temperature. And while I believe this is a myth we've all heard, it's been debunked numerous times, and it also is completely counterproductive. The origin of this myth is actually interesting and comes from a St. Bernard dog that was carrying a brandy flask around its neck, and this dog was saving people that was buried in the French Alps. And unfortunately, this brandy may help you feel better, but definitely won't make you better. If you've experienced the alcoholic beverage, then you've probably noticed the sensation at some point of warmth. And this isn't because the alcohol is raising your body temperature, it's actually because the alcohol is making your blood vessels dilate, stimulating the nerve endings in your skin. But it doesn't actually increase your body temperature. And if you are in a cold environment that is specifically life or death, this dilation of the blood vessels will cause your body temperature to fall, and likely cause you to die much faster than you would have if you just stayed sober. So although alcohol may give you the simulation of warming up and potentially take your mind off of the pain you're in, it's definitely not doing you any favors in the survival department. Realizing the severity of the situation, you come to the conclusion that you need to get out of this mountain quick. And while your friend is incapacitated and breaths away from death, you realize your best bet was to turn your friend into a toboggan and ride him down the mountain like Mrs. Kwan in the Cat in the Hat movie. And in only a few minutes, you went from the top of the snow-capped mountain to a place you weren't in yet. You weren't in the forest anymore. You were on a beach. And luckily, it was warm enough to help you and your friend feel better, and you noticed that you were on an ocean. And this ocean could be your ticket to freedom. With both you and your friend being on your last brain cells, you both intuitively build a raft with absolutely no plan of going anywhere and no knowledge on any sort of nautical construction. Regardless, you make a makeshift raft and set sail, hoping that maybe somebody on the water will will see you and save you. After hours of
Or
sitting on your
pirates.
raft, you and your friend are once again hungry. And while your friend is still sobering up, you decide your best bet is to look for some fish. You take a dive off your raft and you find yourself surrounded by a school of fish, but you're unable to catch any. That is, when you look through the school of fish and notice that a large shadow is approaching you. This isn't a big fish. This is a shark, and it's coming directly for you. You have nanoseconds to try to decide what your next move would be. And the first thing that comes to mind is movies and TV shows showing you that if you punch a shark, you're gonna be all right. So quickly and intuitively, as the shark approaches you, you don't move out of the way. You simply assume a karate stance and prepare to punch the shark. Now here's the deal. If you were actually going to go through with this, there's two likely outcomes. The first is that you are able to successfully punch the shark and scare it away, similar to the black bear, making it seem like you're not worthy prey. But the more likely outcome is that you extend your arm and have your arm ripped off by a shark and then have the rest of your body consumed shortly after.
But
underwater, you have almost no strength
aren't
whatsoever. Like, just try throwing a full force punch next time you're in a pool underwater. It's gonna do almost nothing. And besides this, sharks are ruthless killing machines. Even if you could throw your strongest punch at a shark, it's not going to be phased. Combine that with your lack of agility in the water and the shark's endless agility in the water, your strike effectiveness in even misdirecting the shark is extremely low. If a shark was in your area, you could easily push it out of your way or misdirect it by pushing its head if you had the leverage to do so, but even that is potentially risky. But in the situation when a shark is coming at you with the intent of damage, your best bet is to attack sensitive areas, specifically by plunging your thumb into the shark's eye or gills. Really, the only two areas where you can cause significant damage and at least make the shark retreat temporarily. And so in a last-minute split decision, you decide not to punch the shark, but to actually poke it in the eye, causing the shark to cry and turn around, leaving you alone, and giving you the chance to climb back on the raft with your friend. At this point, you and your friend have been through hell and back. Your friend more so than you, but you are both now laying on your back, looking up at the sky, exhausted. And at this point, accepting your fate and understanding that maybe this trip was a mistake. And as you slowly close your eyes and take what appear to be your last few breaths, you notice a white light appear in your vision. A light that is so bright and so inviting. And you hear a noise, an almost angelic noise. And before you get the chance to meet your maker, you are hit in the testicles by a rope ladder that was dropped on your raft. And you realize that this light was a spotlight, like the same helicopter that dropped you off. And while the pain you are experiencing is unbearable, you realize that you and your friend are finally safe. You both climb the ladder and board the helicopter and feel like you have been given a second chance at life. As you both are flying home with the crew, the pilot asks you how your trip was and if you guys were able to enjoy the park that they left you in only a few miles out of town. And you and your friend look at each other and decide that it's better if you kept your stories to yourself and just told them you guys had fun, but that you wouldn't be returning anytime soon. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, check out the video on screen. It's a video I made about the worst times to ever be alive in human history. That video is insane. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, trust me, bro.
I either already didn't believe him or I never heard of it. So, even though I wouldn't survive in a survival scenario for different reasons, at least this wouldn't be what killed me. My lack of intelligence and fear of bugs and being a picky eater is what would kill me. Nothing else. So, until next time, bye.